Hi, everyone. We're so glad you joined us for another edition of the Lipedema channel interviews. And I've been sort of Facebook stalking our guest today because she does such a wonderful job of uplifting and encouraging the lipedema community. Please join me in welcoming April Sluder. And April is a certified life coach. She has a master's level in social work and she has lipedema. So we want to hear her story. April, thanks for being here today.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me to chat. I'm super excited about it. And I think anytime we can put more knowledge and information out there about lipedema, then we're doing a really good thing. So I appreciate that. As far as my story goes, I grew up, I was always a little bit of a heavier child, not super heavy, but always a little bit chunky, especially on my bottom half.
Mhm.
And it just was the way that it was. And I didn't like it. I was self conscious about it. And especially in the summer, wearing shorts and things like that, it always made me kind of nervous for people to see my legs but I just assumed that was just my body, that's just how I was made. Um, After I went through puberty, especially, it definitely got worse. And again, I've tried so many diets and everything, but nothing ever really seemed to make a difference. And then probably around 2015 or so, I was sitting in an office, and I can't remember if it was a doctor's appointment or some sort of other appointment, but I was reading a magazine and I just happened to see an article that was written about a girl who was on the television show The Biggest Loser. And in the article, it talked about how when she went on that show, that the doctor that was kind of in charge of the guests there and making sure that they were okay. And I think they did like health checks on all of them before they started on the show. The doctor met with her and he told her that right away he could tell that she had lipedema. That's the first time I ever heard of it. I had no idea what it was. And the article kind of, just kind of did an overview of what it is. And all these light bulbs went off. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is what I have. Like it showed pictures. And I was like, I was blown away. I was like, oh my, I have that. I know I do.
That
And so,
had to be a goosebump. Well, I'm having goosebumps just thinking about that moment because you're a very intelligent woman and you're probably very educated about possible conditions, wondering your whole life what might be going on with me. And the thing about a show like The Biggest Loser, it's all about losing weight, but what we know about lipedema is exercise and diet don't necessarily push that needle.
right, right. And even the article, the girl that was being interviewed that I was reading, she talked about that, how the doctor told her, you'll be able to lose some weight, but you're not going to see the changes that you hope to see because, the way this condition works. And so it was such an eye opener for me. So,
About how old were you at that time?
I was about around 40.
Okay, and you already had one or I know you have two children, so
I had two at that point. And after my second daughter, so I have two kids, after my second daughter was born, um, I saw huge changes in my body, like huge changes. Now I know that is most likely related to hormones. A lot of women will see changes during puberty. They will see progression, major progression, maybe after a pregnancy, and obviously in perimenopause and menopause. So yeah, after my second daughter was born, yeah, I definitely saw big changes happening to my body. Of course, I didn't really understand why at that point, but
so then the dots start to connect and you
mhm,
learn about lipedema. This is on the heels of having your second child, and we know that hormonal changes can
mhm,
trigger this being exacerbated. So what now that you knew had a name,
Mhm.
How did you get a diagnosis for yourself, and what did you start to do to begin managing your condition?
Well, what I did was, well, I immediately obviously started Googling it, and I found some information, and I ended up finding the Lipedema Sisters group on Facebook. So I went there and got into the group and just started doing. There's a lot of information in that group, and started looking for information and trying to figure out, say, what do people do to get diagnosed? And so I live in a fairly large part of Ohio, right outside Cincinnati. So in my head, I thought, oh, there's not going to be an issue. There's going to be plenty of doctors in Cincinnati. It's not like I live out in the country that, maybe there's not many doctors or whatever. So I couldn't find anyone. So I ended up through the Lipedema Sisters group, I found Dr. Stephen Dean, who is at OSU up in Columbus. And so luckily, he is, known in the lipedema community, and he knows his stuff. So I was able to get an appointment for him, and it took him like all of like 30 seconds to look at me and say, yeah, you definitely have lipedema. So the thing about it is after you get a diagnosis, then you're like, oh, let's fix this. And you realize, well, there's really, some things you can do to try to slow it down. And obviously you have the surgery option, which, is not really an option for a lot of people. Due to cost, insurance, all of that stuff. And so, we did, I did I met with a physical therapist or a massage therapist, and started
Mhm.
doing some therapy that way and wrapping. And I got a vibration machine and started doing MLD at home. And just tried to start managing it and wearing compression. Um, and,
This is a whole new way of life.
mhm,
I've heard from so many women, it's like, okay, it's one thing to get a diagnosis and then to take on the practically part-time job of managing the condition and making
right,
that a part of your daily
right,
routine.
right.
So it's like, here you are, you're in your 40s and you've got to learn a whole new way of life. So
Mhm.
that's not easy.
No. And to be honest, it really can play with your mind a bit, because what you realize is when you're doing all of these things and trying to manage it and slow it down, it's easy to get into the mindset of what's the point? Because it's not going to go away. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes, and I've talked to women who really kind of give up on that piece of it because they just feel like, I'm always going to have to deal with this. It's not going away. And, why am I doing all this stuff? So it can get overwhelming. And, I've had times where I haven't really put the effort in as much as I should have. And then, I realized that, I'm just doing myself a disservice there, and it really is important to take care of yourself for sure.
April, I got to tell you that when I don't have lipedema, but I am very immersed in the lipedema community because I
Right.
genuinely care and my company cares about it.
Mhm.
I go to your Facebook page for encouragement for
Oh,
myself. And I have to say, there was this moment when you said, what's the point? And I
mhm.
know you speak for a lot of the people out there watching this video right now. Some of them might be thinking, what's the point? And yet you are honest about being at that point sometimes yourself, and then you take it and you make lemonade. How do
I
you do
try.
that?
I try. It's not easy, but sometimes you just have to remember that this is your one life, right? And you do have people that care about you and want to see you be happy. And, even though it can definitely be a struggle for sure, there's pain, there's mobility, there's, just the pure fact of just being exhausted just from doing daily activities. Um, there's still a lot of good to be had, a lot of fun times, a lot of good memories to make. But sometimes you gotta get out of your own head, because it's not just the physical piece of managing the condition, it's the mind piece, it's the mental piece, it's the emotional piece, that a lot of women struggle with, and kind of has been what I've tried to focus on myself, just kind of helping women deal with that piece of it, because that's a huge part of managing lipedema, is managing the emotional piece of it.
Is that why you decided to become a certified life coach 5 years ago?
Yeah, well, and I'm a social worker, so I've been in the field of social work for many years, and I've always enjoyed and felt like that I was, you know, I feel like I'm pretty good at being an encourager and at helping folks kind of see things from a different viewpoint. And so yeah, that was one reason why um, I decided to do that, um, so that I could help more people for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So when did Lovely Lipedema Ladies, your Facebook page group, start?
That group has been around. That's an interesting story too. That group's been around for about 3 years actually. And I created that group kind of on a whim one day. I was in another group, like a lot of women with lipedema are, we're in several groups, and you kind of get good things from all these different groups. They have different focuses, different people. And I was in a group one time, and there was a post, and it was more of like an emotional post, about just dealing with all of this that comes along, and the self-esteem and the self-confidence and the feeling kind of embarrassed and all of that. And I don't know, it just kind of hit me like, we need a group that just focuses on community and focuses on kind of cheering each other on and dealing with the emotional piece of it. And so I just kind of, all right, I'm going to make a group. So I made a group. And, people started joining that group really quickly. I didn't even, it's not like I was really
Marketing it.
advertising it. No.
Yeah.
It just kind of organically grew. I mean, I did tell a few people, but um, I, um, because again, I struggle the same way all women struggle with this. And so I've had my own self doubts and questioning, like, why did I make this group? Like, what do I think that, I'm no expert in lipedema. Like, what am I going to offer? What am I going to do? Like, I knew I wanted to build this place, but I wasn't sure of myself. And so I would come in and I would come out, and I would come in and I would come out. But it was so interesting because even while I was doing that, it was still growing. Like, there were still all the time people asking to join this group. So eventually, I've done a lot of self work and self development. And, eventually I was like, all right, you got to get on your own head and realize, you can really help these women. And so I've gotten a lot more. I've tried to get it a lot more engaged, which it has been. And um, I know for sure, without a doubt, that it's helping people
Yeah.
because of messages I've gotten and people talking to me privately and emailing me and things like that about the struggles that they have, for sure.
And the private messages are just a small indicator of how many people really are out there. Some
Mm.
people just don't feel comfortable
Right,
commenting or liking or sharing,
right.
but your messages of hope and self love and self worth are making a difference. And I love, let's call it out, this BS about I got to have everything together before I can encourage others. I've got to be who is there that's perfect anyhow?
Right.
And is that the qualification to be an uplifter? If so, then we need to both quit. Let's just stop this tape right now. Hey, I've always said it's my messes that are my message, because
Right.
then people can relate to where I've been and know that if I can get through that mud, they can get through it too.
Right. And I think that, what I've learned is that people can relate to you much more. And then they know that you understand, that you've been through it too.
So you mentioned some of the work that you've done, and I can see some of the work from the quotes you use on your page. For instance, one of my favorites ever, "It's not your job to like me, it's mine."
Right.
Byron Katie, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's hard to get to that point, because that's the struggle that a lot of us have, is the worry and the constant, like, thinking about what other people think about you. Because when you have lipedema too, especially, you live in a certain body, and we know that for the most part there are judgments made about you just simply because of the body that you live in, right? I mean, that's just the society that we're in right now. And there needs to be a lot more education, but that's going to take a really long time. And so we have to understand that. And I'll just call it out. A lot of society is really ignorant, um, on why someone might be living in the body that they are in, and it's because they don't really know any better. And so, yeah, judgments are made, and so we just have to learn to accept that that's going to happen. And you still have to live your life, you know
Yeah, it's a real shift in living your life for how other people respond to you, or
right.
living your own life for
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
And I'm also appreciative of the fact that, like, for instance, just yesterday on your Facebook page, you're like, by the way, just so you all know, follow her. And on Sundays, it is Show Us Your Beautiful Face Sunday Selfie Day.
Yeah.
And yesterday, April's selfie was a little glum. You were not having the best day. And I love that you were honest about it.
No, it wasn't. I was not feeling well, but I started doing this Sunday selfie, just because I felt like, this is a place where we can feel safe to put ourselves out there. Snap a picture of yourself. You don't have to have makeup on. You don't have to have your hair brushed. You don't, it's just a place to say hello. Hey, this is what I'm up to today. Show us your face. And you don't have to worry about judgment or who's going to see it, because it's a community of women there to support each other. And so, yeah, and I've had people tell me, well, I don't feel comfortable doing that yet, but I really like seeing those pictures and the women posting and things like that. And maybe one day they will feel comfortable doing that.
Well,
So.
let me tell you, I'm one of them. And I'm not a lipedema lady, but I have to say, on every Sunday, and I'm usually like hair sticking out all over the place, no makeup on. And I'm like, I should just scare April one of these Sundays and do one of my selfies and just put it out there. But I just think it's a really nice tradition that you have. I know every Sunday I can look forward to that post, and it's wonderful. You talk about living life unapologetically and that you are enough right now. And I know that our time is limited and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but let's use these last few moments to talk about the core of your message, and maybe to talk to someone out there watching right now who's feeling crestfallen and a little bit sad about their condition or about their life in
Um,
general.
you know, uh, I guess what my message to everyone is that, um, none of us are an accident. And that is my true feeling, that we all have gifts and value and worth. And I'm going to get emotional because it's important to me that women see that.
I know. And I'm glad. And you know what? Let's feel that for a moment. I'm not going to ask you to wipe away that emotion. I believe that coming to terms with your own self-worth is the greatest journey and almost everybody's journey. I don't care what their condition is. I don't care. I always say, everybody's got something.
Right, exactly.
I am so glad this means so much to you, and it can't be underscored enough. And I also find too, and I want you to go back to that thought, I find that a lot of people, women in particular, are so uncomfortable with this
Mhm.
concept of self-love
Right.
that they'd rather just pay no attention to that.
Hmm.
But now we're going to come back to it.
Right.
Say it again, April.
Well, you know, we all matter. We all have worth. We all have value. We are here for a reason. There are people that love us. Sometimes we may not always feel that way, but there are people that love us. And, when you get to the end of your life, what are the things that are going to matter? It's going to be the memories made, it's going to be the time spent with those people that you love. And they're not concerned with that body that you're in. And those people that you're worried about their judgments, where are they going to be? You know? So who cares, honestly? And I know it's hard to get to that point, but I'm to that point. And I hope to encourage other women to get to that point, because, you know, people are missing out on your gifts and the things that you have to offer because you're hiding yourself. And it's time to stop hiding. That's my opinion.
I think that I'm so glad you're not hiding. And I'm really glad you're using your voice and your heart and your care and your gifting to lift up the community. When I think about my own life, and the only reason I bring up my own life is because it's the only thing I know. I'm not an expert in
Right.
anything, but I know comparison is the thief of joy.
Yep.
When I look at what the other person has, or the physicality that they have, or the car they drive, or the fill in the blank, my joy is sapped.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's not the judgment of other people, but our own self-judgment that is the thief of our joy. And I think, April, you and I are linking arms today and encouraging people to get their joy back. How can people contact you? Because I know a lot of people are going to want to follow you and email you and contact you after this interview.
Okay, so Lovely Lipedema Ladies is my group on Facebook. I have a page that's linked to that group that's called Lipedema Life. I don't do a lot with that page, but you can also reach me through that. I just kind of post articles and things through there. Um, and then my email, April Sluder, SLUDER, at gmail.com. And at Lipedema Life on Instagram, which I need to do more on there, but I'm not. I got too much going on.
There's so many, there's always, and every time I think I'm on all the platforms, another one pops up.
Yeah,
It's like whack-a-mole, but
for
I
sure.
get it. Well, good. Well, we are going to put those in graphics so everybody can follow you. And I just want to thank you for your time. Thank you for being such a bright light in the
Thank
community. And
you.
let's keep the conversation going. I hope to get to
Yeah,
work with you again in the future.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning into this edition of the Lipedema channel. You can find us right here on YouTube. I hope you'll subscribe, or at www.medsoulsupplier.com. Every interview we've done is there. You can also go there to sign up for our monthly lipedema patient roundtables. We are here to support the community. If you know of someone that would make a great lipedema interview, send them my way. Viola at medsoulsupplier.com. Most of all, take care of yourself and feel good about you. You deserve it. Have a great day.